Now, my guest today is Wes Towers, and Wes runs Uplift 360, which is a digital agency mostly for builders and trades. Now, interestingly, because this is the topic we're going to talk about, helping others to understand what marketing is, Wes's focus is really simple. The focus on smarter websites, practical SEO, and growth that you can measure. And he's earned his playbook on real jobs, not just theory, but how he helps others to skip the painful lessons. So welcome to the podcast, Wes.
Thanks, Neil. It's a pleasure to be here on probably the exact opposite of the planet. So our time zone's nearly the inverse, isn't it? We're 4 a.m., you're 5 p.m. So there you go.
It is. And this is just one of the incredible connections through podcasting that we can almost sort of learn from best practice on, as you say, the other side of the planet. So kind of what happens with you and what happens with us here. It'll be interesting to compare notes in terms of, this topic, which it really for me is a real fascinating one because I've tussled over the decades, having been a marketer forever, it feels, with this constant challenge of actually helping others to understand what marketing is, be it from a colleague's perspective, they might be somebody in finance or in a management position, or it could be potential client, and really kind of convincing them that marketing is the way to go. Why is it such a problem? Because why don't people just get what marketing is? Because you and I understand it. Why is it so hard for a lot of people to fathom out what marketing actually stands for?
Yeah, well, I suppose you don't know things that are outside your expertise, and when it is out of your expertise, then it's scary, and you potentially avoid it. Certainly, with the types of businesses we work with, construction-related businesses, builders, trades, anything, building materials, all those kind of things. And oftentimes, and this is true of lots of businesses, but it's probably emphasized in ours, in that they're founder-led businesses and they've worked their way up on the tools. So they're practical, hands-on, pragmatic people. They love what they do, but they're not necessarily even computer people. They don't sit behind a desk all day punching on the keyboard like we might. And so marketing is generated usually behind a screen. Sometimes through a video lens, but it's always digital these days. So we tend to avoid what we don't understand, and then things just get worse. If we do avoid things, sometimes the thing you avoid the most are the most important things that you need to do. That's just the nature of humanity, I think. It's certainly true of my journey. I've always needed to focus more attention on the things that are weaknesses in my own business.
That's an interesting and a very kind of proactive attitude, though, isn't it? Do you think that a lot of people almost miss out if they don't have that feeling of, I need to be curious, I need to upskill? And if somebody kind of almost reverts back to this is what I know, as you said, you described, people being on the tools. I mean, they'll be absolute experts probably in what they're doing there, but then maybe unwilling and maybe a little bit inflexible to learn new stuff, almost sort of downgrading their capabilities. Is that where there's almost a missing piece of this jigsaw, do you think?
Well, I think so. And even starting my own business, it was certainly my journey. So when I started, I worked in a marketing company before starting my own business, and I designed websites and graphic design and all that kind of stuff. So I saw how things worked in that company from observation. But so many gaps in my knowledge of just running a business. So I didn't know how to put a proposal together or do a client meeting or, the bookkeeping side of things and all the other aspects of business. I just had so many gaps in my knowledge. And so I think that's true of everyone when you're starting something new or you're evolving, and we're all growing and learning. And particularly, in the last few years, things are changing so fast. So there's no reason people are feeling left behind, because the tech, the AI, it's just changing dramatically. So even people who are experts in this daily, I don't feel like I'm an expert in AI, but I don't think anyone really can claim to be, simply because it's changing. By the time this gets published online, things have probably changed somewhat. That's the dramatic thing we're seeing right now.
It is, and I think there's the harsh reality, isn't it? That even to use the word expert is probably pushing the boundaries for most people, because okay, there are certain individuals who you could say, they are absolute thought leaders. They're the ones who are crafting, the next version or the next generation of whatever it is that they do. But for most of us, we're not. We're kind of working with, stuff that's already been created, and therefore we're all learning and we're all on this journey. And I think most people always feel like, I'm the least informed in the room, or, everybody knows more than I do. If I go to a meeting, I'm going to be the one who doesn't know anything. Whereas actually most of us, if we're being brutally honest, have probably been faking it over the years anyway. If we were really, really honest with ourselves. And I think, it is. It's a reality, isn't it? That when we're kind of, even if we're specialists in a particular area, we might not be experts in it. So it's okay to say, I don't know, or I'm learning that, or maybe I need to learn that. It's kind of okay to be vulnerable, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And so marketing is so broad as well, to think about it from the really what it is. It's taking something to market. It's going to market. And so that includes a lot of things, the way in which you operate your business to take it to market. Advertising, sometimes people think of marketing more in the advertising front, which it's all, everything merges into the same sorts of things, and everything influences, every part of your business influences the next part. So the sales team are part of your marketing, because everything's intertwined and interrelated. So sometimes we get stuck on what department or what category something falls in. It's all marketing, in my view.
Yeah, and I think that is a reality. I think, irrespective of what size business, you could be looking at a big multinational all the way down to a sole trader. And it is literally everything. It's your product, it's how you position that product, it's the timing of stuff, it's your propositions, it's your messaging, it's how you price it. It's the marketing mix in simple terms, if you look in the textbook. And it is everything, isn't it? And I think, once people realize that, they're probably going to find that they're doing marketing without even realizing it. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Every interaction with your clientele is some form of marketing. It's the way in which you're communicating to them, whether it be, even for us, the tradespeople on the ground doing the work and talking to the client. That's a form of marketing, and you want that to go well, because you look after that particular customer, and they've become a referral source. So that's as we all know, referrals are a phenomenal small business marketing tool if you can get it working for you. And there's ways to prod that process, but sometimes it's just organic and happens as a result of doing the work and making sure everyone's aligned and on the same page. So the experience that they get when they read your marketing material, to interact with a salesperson or you as the founder, if it's a smaller business, and then the end result being delivered, and that same sort of feeling and process, that whole brand experience, brand marketing. I think brand marketing is the most important aspect of marketing overall, particularly in this day and age, where some things have become less easy to track. Certainly in our world, I mean, we got to a point where everything was trackable, measurable, and that's all wonderful. I mean, to look at search engine optimization, for example, I realize most of your audience will probably be familiar with SEO, but just simply, you would target keywords, and really basic keywords. So service and location, typically, as plumber Melbourne, for example. You would track where it was ranked in Google. You would track how much traffic you're getting to your website. You would track the conversion and therefore the return on investment. Super simple and kind of linear in a way. So that was easy for us to report to our clients. We could show the measurable improvements, and that was easy. But then when AI came along and they're getting their answer within Google, so the AI overview, or they're doing their research not on Google anymore because they can have conversation with their preferred AI platforms. So I use ChatGPT all the time as a research tool and a brainstorming tool, even almost like a personal psychologist. I use it for everything. I'm always having conversations with my phone. And that's what people are doing. And they're searching, or they're looking for things in conversational language. So it's not Plumber Melbourne anymore. They'll be having full in-depth questions and conversations and conversing backwards and forwards until they get the results they want. And you want your brand to build their authority and reputation in your field, so that the tools, no matter what they are, they trust you enough to surface your information. That's, in my view, the most powerful play you can make in marketing these days.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because just the way you described that there is this kind of idea that every touch point is a marketing moment. Is kind of, I'm paraphrasing what you said, but it feels so relevant, doesn't it? That no matter where you are in that journey with the customer, it could be right at the very first point in time at the awareness stage, where they very first hear about you for the first time, all the way through to a moment, maybe 10 years into a really long relationship where, the customer knows you, you know the customer. And it can apply to any industry. Every single interaction is a marketing moment. So we're all doing it. We might be working in finance. We might be a salesperson, like you mentioned. We might be a marketer who's driving that customer experience. But we're all doing it without necessarily realizing this is marketing. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because the way you kind of describe that means that it is so much more about the brand experience at every moment of every day, digitally and in person as well, that we should all understand we're all doing marketing. We're all marketers, even if we don't have the badge on our, kind of our desk or, on our job title. Am I reading this right?
Yeah, well, certainly they're aspects of our niche. They're things that we need to focus on a lot, because there's sometimes, you mentioned that oftentimes people are unfamiliar with marketing, or they're not quite sure how to go about it. And sometimes they'll create marketing that really isn't aligned to who they are as people and business operators and what the experience is going to be. So there's a massive disconnect by the time they read the language on the website. For example, we produce a lot of websites. That's probably that's our core service, and then SEO on the back of that, and a bunch of other things around. But the websites are really our primary focus. So you read sometimes the material, you take on a new website build, and you read their old website, and it doesn't fit that the people you've spoken to within the entity at all. It's just all, polished, super professional, and then you speak to them and they're down to earth, short and sharp and concise and these things, but there's so much language in the website, it just doesn't make any sense. And if you experience that, you're going to lose trust immediately. You read the website, something's engaged you in that, so you've made an inquiry, and you make an inquiry, and it doesn't feel like the same people. So your alarm bells are just going to ring. Are they who they say they are? Are they legitimately going to provide the service or the product in which I need? So that lack of trust. And I think that's even enhanced now, because you can produce content rapidly and really not need to put much input into it at all. And it will sound polished and it will sound wonderful and all these things, but it's just pulling content from everywhere that's already been published. So it's just the average sum total of what everyone else has already said, and it's not necessarily unique or specific to your business. And so it just sinks in the sea of blandness. And so all of these things, these are the new issues that we face. The ability to build trust is so important now. And so to be able to do that across platforms, from your marketing experience, all your social media, all your website, everything needs to sing from the same hymn book. So you've got that consistency.
And it's vital, this, isn't it, really? Because if you think about it, if you've got say, in your world, then if it's a small building firm, say, and there's maybe half a dozen people working in the firm, if we're correct and we say that every customer touch point is marketing, whatever it is, through product, through the delivery, through being on site or whatever, every single moment is marketing, as well as all the materials and the digital stuff as well. If you go down this route that you're describing, Wes, of kind of, it's got to be authentic, it's got to be true, it's got to be actually representing the collective of us as a team, then just by default, everybody is understanding marketing because you're all just being yourselves. And that feels like that's got to be important too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's those points of your uniqueness, the aspects of make you are the ones that you need to highlight, because everyone else is kind of educating the marketplace in your industry about the general basic things about your industry, but the key points that only you bring, that only you believe in, that only you think are important, they're the key distinctions that you need to ensure are clear within your marketing material. And effectively, the website is what we focus on foremost. So the clear, concise, compelling messaging on your website that's distinctly yours. And so to get to that, sometimes it feels like it's a complicated process, but the easiest and the fastest hack or shortcut I find working with those founder-led businesses is to have a discussion. I call it the dark side, all the negative things in the industry, all the things they really don't like. It's almost like a venting session, and people, by human nature, people can draw upon these dark, negative ideas far more easily than the positive. But what it enables us to do, and people could do this with their ChatGPT if they want to, they could have a conversation, get it to ask you a bunch of questions about what you hate in your industry and what all your competitors are doing wrong. You'll find those answers are really passionate and easy to address, and you'll dig deep, and hopefully the ChatGPT or whatever you're using will prompt you to dig deeper and deeper and deeper into these things. But you don't focus on these aspects in your marketing. It's just revealing the light, because there's always contrast. If there's a darkness, there's always a light to contrast with that. And you are the light, but it's just showing to you, okay, what's the opposite of all these things that I really despise and really hate in our industry and field? And the opposites are your marketing selling points. They're the strong points that might be about timing. In our clientele, oftentimes there's frustration about people showing up on time or leaving work places messy, or people's homes, if they're working within a home, messy, or all these types of things, or just the communication. And there's a whole bunch of things that are common that I hear oftentimes that people really don't like in their industry, and they want to change, but they find it hard to come at it from that positive angle initially. But the venting session is so powerful to highlight all these key things that are really powerful in marketing.
I think you've just given a lot of people a lot of permission there to kind of just, be super honest, because we always try, I guess, most of us in business, we always try and do the right thing, don't we? But actually what you're saying is do the wrong thing, actually talk about the bad stuff. And as you say, then flip it over and see what the alternative is, almost the other end of the spectrum to all your answers. Fascinating approach. I mean, that's a really kind of almost brutally honest approach, isn't it?
Yeah, and you would never share that that's in behind closed doors conversation, and you would never share it in your market. You always want to remain positive in your marketing material, but it's just so easy to highlight the light, as I call it, the positive when you know the negative so strongly. It's kind of the yin and yang kind of philosophy. If there's darkness, there's got to be light. These sorts of aspects. I think it's so true, and it's just the way, especially in our clientele, particularly the smaller businesses, the founder-led businesses, they find those conversations easier to have. We're working alongside marketing teams as well in the slightly bigger trades, construction businesses. So you're dealing with a marketing resource. Maybe it's just one person, maybe it's a small team, but someone taking care of a lot of that. So they're more grounded in marketing, and they've got some ideas of where they're taking the business as well. So it just depends on the nature of who you're working with and their skill set, and coming alongside in our instance to support what they're doing. Sometimes it's really helpful for them to have an external perspective, because whilst we understand the niches, because we're really niched as an agency, we'll still have an external perspective because we're not stuck right in the business. Sometimes you're so close to something that you can't see what's really happening. You can't see new opportunities because you've done it a certain way so many years now. But to have fresh eyes like ours coming in, it can be really helpful.
It's important, isn't it? And I think those fresh eyes, I mean, I just find it really interesting that what might happen if people take this advice and this guidance and go down this route is that they might uncover things that mean the story that they have to tell changes. And that might, just by the nature of the storytelling, it might mean that certain prospective customers might actually then either move away, or you might be turning people off because of what you're now saying, because you are being really honest and you are being really true to yourselves as a team or as an individual. Is it going to be okay here to kind of say, okay, this is now going to become a bit of a filter in our communications, because by being honest and not having, as you described it earlier, this kind of generic positivity that everybody says, but by actually being the honest broker in the room, you actually don't appeal to everyone. That feels like it kind of is almost like a little bit of a risk, but it probably feels like an important thing to do.
Yeah, I think the nature of where we are right now, if it's somewhat polarizing, it's okay, and I mean, there's a lot of polarizing political things in the world that are horrible right now, but we can see all the social media platforms will push towards a polarizing view because it's something interesting, and it'll start to filter information that's confirmation bias to the right people. So even it depends on how brave you want to be with it, and you've got to be balanced in all these things. But if you're having a unique, somewhat polarizing perspective and you're sharing on social media, it's likely that the social media platforms will know the right people to surface that information to. And they're getting more and more sophisticated as well. And even things that seem unbusiness related, but if it's a personal brand that's a strong foundation for the business, and founder-led businesses often are, a personal brand is influencing the company brand because the company is a reflection of the founder oftentimes. So if they can share their heart and unique ideas and storytelling, that really captivates people. It can be about something not necessarily super about their business sometimes for those social posts, but if it's about something happening in their personal life, maybe they're into I mean, I've spoken about breath work a few times on different podcasts. And so, I mean, it's not a service we're providing. It's nothing to do with the business, but sometimes people ask, what do you do outside of business and what keeps you motivated and all those sorts of things. As a business operator, things can be stressful. So I do breath work and cold plunges and a whole bunch of stuff. Those sorts of little clips in socials can do really well because the tools will realize, hey, this person's kind of interested in breath work and business. They might, so they'll see the right information. So I think those kind of different unique things that you can share through a storytelling aspect are really good. Every culture has grown to understand storytelling as a foundational aspect of the society, and it's still true. We're so tech advanced now, but it's still the same as it was, probably thousands of years ago, with people sharing stories and relating and understanding things and concepts through story.
It's fascinating, isn't it? And I think it just kind of takes me back to some of the earlier kind of days in my marketing, where I was very much evangelizing, this whole idea of going beyond just the product and the service and actually getting to know the individuals or the teams, and actually sharing, as you say, with your breath work and cold plunges and the various other things. You kind of get to know the individual. And again, this is part of marketing, isn't it? Because it is about relationships, it's about human connection. And it's almost by default then, if you're talking about it and somebody else is curious, or maybe they're doing it too, there's an instant bond, irrespective of the product or the service or the price or whatever. Suddenly you've got a connection. Because if Neil and Wes kind of, sharing something that actually we do similar things in our kind of, out of work time, suddenly you elevate the connection level, don't you? Beyond just purely commercial. So that's got to be critical, hasn't it, for these kinds of relationships?
Yeah, anything to humanize the brand, really, the personal brand, but the company brand as well. In this AI-driven age where things have the potential to be so generic, it's something that makes you distinct. And so even to share vulnerabilities can be really helpful because they're so relatable. So we know everyone makes mistakes and no one's perfect. And so obviously through marketing over the years, businesses have always tried to present as these perfect entities that do nothing wrong ever, that never make any mistakes. But we know deep down that's not true. So when a company is prepared to be vulnerable, it can be a really powerful thing. So even when I was watching he's a trained psychologist, or I can't remember his qualification, but he's got proper qualifications in how the human mind works. And now he works in marketing. It was a little workshop in Melbourne. And he was explaining how large companies who really do a big stuff up, and then the way in which they address, and it goes public and it's all through the media and all that kind of stuff, the way in which they address that, they can come out the other side in a stronger footing in their industry than they went into that horrible time, simply because they addressed it in the right way and they didn't try and paint over the mistakes and the flaws. They owned the mistake, they moved on, they expressed how they're going to be better. And people go, okay, we can trust these guys because we know they make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, but these guys own the mistake and they move forward and progressive, and they've got a new way to go about it. So he was just explaining the human nature and how that builds trust in a brand, and it can be really powerful. He was also describing how if you've got a 5-star Google review rating, for example, it's less believable than like a 4.9. It's just known that there's some people out there that will leave negative reviews for no good reason, just the way they are. It's just the nature of people. So he was just explaining how a 5-star review isn't as strong as a 4.9, which is, and he had all the data, and I can't remember what the data was, but I know it anecdotally to be true. We've got a 5-star Google review. We've not been able to get off that. But, I mean, I'm not going to artificially create something lower than 5, but it was relieving somewhat, because I have clients reach out oftentimes and say, hey, we got this horrible review. It's someone who never even worked with us, blah, blah, blah. We don't deserve it for whatever reason. We don't deserve it. I always say, don't worry about it too much. You've got a couple of hundred positive ones and you've got this one bad one. It's not going to change anything. But people seem to stress about these things where really they're not going to hurt your brand at all.
Feels like a lot, the way you're describing this, feels like a lot of this is also about listening. Because obviously when people think of marketing, they think, oh, it's the promotion, oh, it's the message. You talked about advertising earlier, which obviously is the go-to for many, many people. But I think what you're also suggesting here, because there's a conversational thing going on here in terms of this relationship building, is that a lot of this is actually also including active listening. So, are we going to bundle in social listening? Because you say about, the reviews and stuff, that's obviously social sentiment and kind of social proof. Do we need to be really actively watching the marketplace and listening to what's going on, and obviously checking our own kind of credentials, but also listening more, I guess, sympathetically to how our markets are kind of feeling? Is that a thing now?
Yeah, certainly for the larger organizations do that. So for our clientele, they're probably not to the level in which they need tools to help them with that side of things, but they certainly should be monitoring all their own social platforms and simply just having, say, the Google, what do you call that? I can't remember but you can set up the prompt where Google, you'll get a message if your phrases are mentioned in Google. So your company name, you can set up there. I've set up our company name and my own name in there. So if anything ever is surfaces on Google, which could mean it could be in a whole lot of places, it'll just show up. So that's helpful. But yeah, I think always just responding to their comments, even the bad ones, in a positive frame. Is always good. It's particularly with our line of clientele, which are the founders are often pretty strong and robust individuals and straight shooters. So it doesn't matter who you are. There's often you want to vindicate yourself. You want to say, no, that's not right. but you can be too forceful with that and come across as, pretty poorly. So you got to be level-headed. Take a big breath when you get something negative, and deal with it when you can not be too aggressive, I suppose.
So with all of these things, do you feel, I mean, obviously you've mentioned ChatGPT and how much you're using it, and I guess, everybody's, either dabbled or they're getting some value from it now, and obviously that's going to increase. Did you feel, as West has, do you feel kind of positive and hopeful for the future, or do you think marketing is going to go through some challenging times in the near future?
I think just different challenges. There's always challenges, but different challenges as things. I mean, videos, for example, we're all seeing the amazing videos of people who are long past, so we know they're not real, but they look so genuine. Like I was looking at the Michael Jackson ones that are going around on the socials at the moment, or there's heaps of them, and they just look exactly like the person. So that's exciting and terrifying, because it means a whole lot of things in the world, but it also means that how do we use video now as a marketing tool, as a point of distinctions, if it's so easy for anyone to do it. So, back in the day, and doing things like this, where we're making a podcast which has video, which can be shared across social platforms, there was a level of effort to put this stuff together and to share it and all that kind of stuff. If it's soon to be done in a few clicks without even the real people involved being involved, well, that makes a whole bunch of challenges. So we've got to find new ways to rise to the top in a super noisy world, and we've got to think about the tools we're using to market. So sometimes marketing, social media marketing, for example, the intention for someone on social media isn't to buy your thing. They're there wasting time effectively. They're doom scrolling. They're just doing it to fill in some time in their day, scrolling through TikTok, for example. They're not ready to buy a thing, so they're distracted. So there's just so much distraction out there and noise. We've got to find new ways, always, of cutting through so we can be found and be seen, be trusted, be chosen. All of those things are going to be the keys. We're going to have to get creative in how we do that.
We are, and I guess we've sort of come full circle in terms of this whole idea about being curious and listening, and getting sort of really, really kind of professionally intimate with the customer, which is a phrase I've often find myself saying, is that if you're not serious about this, you're not going to be doing marketing, because you've got to want to play this game. You've got to want to build those relationships. Otherwise, you're just paying lip service to it, and there's somebody down the street who's willing to do the hard yards, and they will win. They will beat you. So kind of staying in touch with all of that stuff. How can people sort of connect with you then, Wes, and kind of continue the journey, or make a connection if they're looking for a new website or to talk about SEO? Kind of how best would they connect with you?
Yeah, so our website, uplift360.com.au, being an Aussie brand, we service businesses all around the world, so there's no problem for location, being an online business, really. And so from there you can book a strategy call directly with me if you want to. We can talk further about some of how these things and how they might apply to an individual circumstances, a business. But from there, also the social media accounts, you'll find all of them there that you typically would.
Wonderful. Wes, thank you so much for your time today. It's been really interesting just to kind of mull over some of these challenges, which I think a lot of people kind of miss, and hopefully for some people they might have got a few little nuggets of gold there in terms of how to help others to understand marketing and the value, and the fact that they're part of it too. And I think that's obviously the key message that we're giving everybody. Wes Towers, thank you so much.
No, thank you, Neil. It's been a pleasure.